Hey everybody, Charles Terry here from HauntersDigest, covering the Midwest Haunters Convention, and I am joined here with a special guest. Not this guy. This guy, we don't know where the hell he came from. I'm joined with Randy Bates, the one, the famous, the guy I see every October on the Travel Channel, Mr. Extraordinaire with the Bates Motel Haunted Hayride, and running the famous Pennhurst Asylum. So, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me on, and really a pleasure to be here and meet with you guys, and looking forward to a great show here at Midwest.
And thank you for being so patient. We had some mic issues. This is our first big booth and first recording studio area, and he was patient enough to sit here while we got all that worked out. We gave him a tea, so I think it's all even, but
we're good. It's good for me.
So, Randy, you're kind of considered one of the top attractions in the country. When did the Bates Motel originally start? How long ago was that?
Well, we originally started with our haunted hayride back in 1991. In '96, we went to the Trans World Trade Show. It was in Chicago at that time. For the first time, totally blown away with everything that we saw, and came home and built the Bates Motel Haunted House. So everything was growing. We were getting very successful. We decided in 2000 to add a haunted corn maze, and immediately the first year we had almost 25,000 people come through the corn maze. So, it was successful beyond my wildest dreams.
So how long, if say a new haunter wants to come into the industry, how does he get to your kind of level of success? I mean, would you say it's a lot of putting a lot of thought in the design, or just these guys who think buy a lot of animatronics and razzle dazzle with special effects? What's kind of your idea of what a haunter needs to do to really make an impression in his area as a quality haunt?
Sure. Well, everybody thinks it's just going to be, putting in the best scares and get the best animatronics, things like that. Really, the foundation of a haunted attraction is your business plan. You've got to be able to research your local government to make sure that you're going to be, viable and be allowed to operate attractions like this. You've got to look at parking. You've got to look at, how are you going to fund it, and how are you going to hire your actors. So, really, the business end of it's more important. The scare end's the fun part. But typically, if you're looking to get into the business like this, 3 to 5 years to start recouping your money. Typically it's about 3 to 5 years before you actually start making money. You're going to dump a lot of money into it. There's always a lot of unexpected expenses. The workman's comp insurance, liability insurance, and security staff, EMTs, all that kind of thing. So it's really best to sit down and come up with a good game plan. And the best way to do that is to go to some of these trade shows like Trans World or Midwest and take the seminars the business seminars on how to really start a business, start the haunts.
Well, a lot of haunters, when they're trying to come up with putting together their first haunt, they run into issues like, how does one find financing for this? I mean, would this be something that is like your friends and family kind of motto, start small, build from there? Or do you actually think it's possible, if you got a really good business plan, do you think that makes sense to be able to walk into a bank and not have the bank kind of look at you like, this is too high risk of a business for us? What do you think is the best way of finding an investor?
Best way is to find a private investor. If you can get family members or things like that to chip in, that's great. Once you've established your business, now you can go to a bank and you can show them your tax returns and say, hey, you know what, we can pay a $250,000 line of credit off every year, so we want to get that. But you need a track record really to get to a bank. So the best way is to find private investors that would be able to fund you money. And I said,
So if you're lucky enough to find what they're called, like angel investors, find somebody that has money and is believing in the project, whether that be an independent or a person that like a family member, start that way. Then as you got the track record, go and talk to the bank by showing your tax records and proving I have this kind of credit I can establish.
Yeah, that's really the best way. And we were very fortunate because we owned our property, we lived on a farm, and we started our business very small and built it over several years. And so we're very fortunate. When we opened up Pennhurst Asylum, that was a whole different ball game. Because now I did have a partner that was able to invest in the haunt as well. I invested in it. And we didn't have the luxury of starting down here and working our way up. I told him that if I was going to be part of this, it was going to be world class right out the gate, or I'm not doing it. And our budget at Pennhurst for the first year was almost $500,000. That was to open the doors.
That's a little chunk of change there.
That's a lot. That's a huge gamble.
Oh yeah.
It's a huge gamble. We were hoping to make break even, or at least recoup some of the money, and it turned out that it was wildly successful. We had a great first year.
But I think you when you approach investors and you talk with them at first, you kind of have to tell them, you have to look at the haunt industry as any business. It's not a quick get-rich scheme. It is a business. You have to be willing to put like a 5-year investment into it. Don't expect to recoup your cost after the first, second, maybe even the third year. By the third, you should at least be breaking even, and then hopefully, profiting after that. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree with that. And it's the same with almost any kind of business that you start. The thing is that you get people that go past these, successful haunted attractions. They see thousands of people in line. They don't understand that you've got, tremendous payroll and the taxes and the insurances and things like that. But they see all these people in line. They're thinking these guys are making millions and millions of dollars. Hey, that's pretty easy. I'll put a haunt up. It's so much harder than what it looks, especially to the successful guys, And it's just that people really need to think about it when they get in. If they're getting into it in an area where there's not much competition, they can start a little bit smaller.
Yeah, that was my next question. How do you kind of impact an area that may already have a lot of haunts in there? Is it better to go outside the area or focus, with better quality than the other guys and go that route?
Sure. Well, you take the Philadelphia area where I'm from. There's 8 or 9 very large, top quality haunted attractions within 50 miles of each other, and we're all friends. We all get along. But if somebody else wanted to come in and start something, they can't start down here. They got to go throw $500,000 or $1 million into the project to get it up, because
they're already competing with established guys.
Yeah, our customers are already used to going to really good quality attractions, and if they go to one that's inferior, they're never going to go back, and the word of mouth will get out, so on like that.
So if you're already in that market, you got to really have a couple good investors that are willing to back you on that.
Yeah,
be willing to drive outside your sphere of comfort to maybe find a better market that would be more accepting of it.
Yeah, either that, or you would have to create some sort of attraction which is unique to the rest of the group. So that's basically in any type of business. You come up with your unique selling feature, what's going to set you aside from everybody else, you'll do well.
Okay. You mentioned Pennhurst earlier, and we've been following Pennhurst for a while. We've been a long supporter of you in Pennhurst. But I know there's been a lot of controversy when that first came around. There was the people saying that they were going to protest it. They thought it might have been, and for those of you that don't know what Pennhurst Asylum is, it was a former, well, actually, why don't you describe what it was, because you've been there.
Sure. Pennhurst was originally called the Pennhurst State School for the Infirm and Epileptic. And it was for mentally handicapped, mostly kids that their parents couldn't take care of. It was founded in 1908. It grew in the 40s and 50s to housing almost 25,000 people. In the early 70s, they did an expose on it and found that there was some kids that were chained to their beds, and there was some abuse going on, things like that. So they eventually shut it down, and it was finally closed in 1986. Fast forward to 2009, and I met with the owners of the property. They approached me. They'd originally bought the property in order to develop it, but of course with the housing crash they were having difficulty. So they approached me and said they want to do a haunted house. And I said, I took one look at the place and I fell in love. I mean, it's awesome. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you see photos of it. I mean, it's just, for a haunter, that's kind of like Disneyland right there.
Yep, it was awesome. So I spent about 2 months. I wrote a business plan, I worked out a budget, and proposed it to my partner, and he said, yeah, let's go with it. So the controversy started because as we were working with the buildings, we had to start locking everything down. There had been so many people breaking in, stealing the copper, stealing the pipes, and scrapping the place. But a lot of teenagers, young adults, even people in their 30s that were breaking in there and just using it as a party place. And when we locked it down, they lost their little playground. They got upset about it, so they started telling rumors about us.
Well, that's kind of what started was. It started appearing in the local newspapers as saying originally the ones that we saw was that the local families were saying that they didn't like the idea that something that they may have had family members hospitalized there being turned into as kind of amusement attraction, kind of disrespecting the memory of it. And I know you had some issues. I think you had to go with the city planners and everything and kind of say, no, we're not doing that.
We went through the township doing the building codes, code enforcement. I became pretty good friends with the code enforcement officer in the township. And because of my background in safety, and I teach a lot of seminars for the Department of Agriculture in Pennsylvania, who oversees safety in the haunted attractions, they said, yeah, well, if Randy Bates is involved with this, we think he's going to do a good job. Then we started, like I said, we started having a controversy. I never heard of any of the family members of people that lived there complaining. There was a lot of neighbors that were complaining because they were concerned about dust and traffic and noise and things like that, and with good reason. They did have a.
I mean, the property. I mean, you're saying the property owner approached you, and they're wanting to try to save the property. I mean, it wasn't like they were just trying to make money off of it. They actually were trying, from what I understand, trying to restore the property too. And this was a way to make some funds in order to do restorations and preserve that piece of history. I mean, wasn't that? I mean, am I wrong or?
Well, it was twofold. They needed to make money to pay the mortgage on the place because right now it was just sitting there, and costing them money. At the same time, they did want to restore several of the buildings, and we already have. We've opened up 3 different buildings right now, and we are working to restore it a little bit. But like I said, the main controversy was that these kids had started these rumors that we were going to be making fun of mentally handicapped children, when that was not the fact. The Arc of Philadelphia, which is a mentally handicapped activist group, caught on, and they started printing full-page ads in the paper that don't go here, which was great because every time that ad came out, our ticket sales went through the roof.
There's no bad press at all. It's always good press.
Yeah, but you know what? For me, it was really tough because I get along with a lot of people in this industry. I like everybody. I don't start any controversies. And when the newspapers and the politicians started dragging my name through the mud because of this, And all my friends are telling me, don't worry about it, Randy, you know, it's going to be okay, you know, it's good publicity, don't worry about it. But I go home at night and lay in bed thinking, like, these people are, you know, think I'm friggin' Hitler. So,
Well, I mean, did it ever just come to a point where you were like, maybe this just isn't worth it?
no, I don't give up that easy.
You didn't strike me off as being like that, but I mean, like you said, after a while, it just kind of seemed like everybody's after you. I mean, you have to kind of go, maybe I already own another very successful haunt. Maybe I should just go over there.
Yeah, that really never even crossed my mind. In fact, like I said, the local residents had a emergency injunction placed against us on opening night.
Yeah.
The first year, I'm in court, it's noon, and these people are standing up saying, well, there's going to be dust and traffic and noise and trash and kids running around, this and that.
I'm assuming those were the neighbors that live locally.
That was the local neighbors. And the judge finally asked them, he goes, well, how much of this has happened? How much dust and noise and traffic have you had? And they said, well, none, because they haven't opened yet. So the judge says, well, how can you sue for something that hasn't happened yet? He goes, case dismissed. We walked outside, and that is when this amazing PR hit us. I walked out of the courtroom, and the local ABC affiliate's got a big camera right in my face. How does it feel to be opening your haunt tonight? You know, the breaking news on the NBC affiliate. You know, the big story at 6.
That saves you a lot of money right there.
Pennhurst Asylum to open its doors for the first time in 25 years. And when I showed up, I ran home and got into my work clothes. When I showed up at Pennhurst to get everything ready to open, there was 4 satellite trucks there doing a live broadcast from the front steps of Pennhurst. It was just, I mean,
That's a good opening night.
it was beyond my wildest dreams. I never expected anything like that. And
So for somebody that is in that kind of sorry, we got a clown there. How you doing? Good costume, threw me off. Good point. So for somebody that say they walk up and they're called over by a large building, say similar to Pennhurst, and you look at it and you say, okay, well, we obviously have to make it safe. We have to do fire code. But how do you kind of just sit there and say, how do you wrap your brain around the idea of how do I turn this into a haunt? Because most haunts, I mean, like a haunt that's a panel built, you have the freedom of a hollow space. You can lay it out any which way you want. I would imagine with a building like Pennhurst, you're locked into whatever floor plan they really got. So how do you kind of design something that people can flow through and not just go straight down a hallway looking into rooms?
well, one of the great things about the Pennhurst, especially the administration building where we built the first haunt, is that the construction. All the interior walls are made from ceramic tile and plaster on the outside. So none of them were supporting, which means that I could go cut an opening anywhere I wanted. And as long as I wasn't doing
I mean, you got the property owner's permission.
the property owner was awesome to work with because, you know, he gave me carte blanche. You know, as long as I wasn't throwing money away, and I had a track record with my place. So, you know, all right, and I showed him everything we were going to do. We were going to cut a hole here and put a doorway in. I'm going to cut a hole there and put a doorway in. So we were able to take this building with all these rooms and snake the people back through, but still be able to use the great architecture that was part of the building, which is, you know, a lot to do with it.
Now with Pennhurst, do you use the theme of that it used to be a hospital, or how do you approach that kind of subject?
Well, what we did was we wrote a backstory that basically said that the place had been abandoned and a evil doctor from, I forget, it's on the website, but a small country over in Europe was thrown out of his country for doing, nasty medical experiments. He bought the property and was going to continue doing his experiments on life, people serving life in jail, things like that. And so that's kind of, we wrote the backstory. So we weren't making fun of kids. We had doctors that are doing these terrible, experiments on people.
So, okay, now Pennhurst is your traditional haunted house, with it being a room and a layout. With the Bates Motel, that's a haunted hayride. So that's an whole outdoor haunt. What do you find the major differences in logistics and planning for something that's a hayride versus a regular haunted house?
Well, actually, my place, the Bates Motel, we have a haunted hayride, we have a haunted corn maze, and we also have a mansion that we built So I have 3 different events going in my place. When I approached Pennhurst, it was going to be obviously different themes and things like that. So there was a lot of different costuming going on and so on. But personally, I like to make all my attractions extremely realistic. So when you walk into a room, and it's going to be like an operating room, it's going to look and smell and feel just like an operating room. So, I go for the realism rather than the abstractness of the things. So with Pennhurst, it was very simple doing that. And the greatest thing at Pennhurst was we were able to go through all these other buildings, 17 buildings on the property, and down the tunnels and the storage areas, and harvest just amazing props, dental chairs, dental x-ray machines.
Stuff haunters wish they could find all the time. You've just got a Kroger or a Kmart full of stuff right there.
Yep, exactly. So that helped and enhanced because we could tell people, hey, these are things that we actually found in this building. The giant hospital lights.
Well, I just have a question. When you find something like that, say like a hospital setting, you're obviously going to have a morgue, a real morgue that at one time held dead bodies. Are there kind of health code things that you have to go through if you have the morgue being in use or something? Because when a body decomposes, it's not pretty. How do you is there anything along the special lines that you have to do so you can use that sort of thing?
I have no idea. We took the morgue out of the hospital there. It had been sitting for, like I said, 25 years. And I would assume that...
None of your actors have TB, right?
No, none of them are sick. But I would assume that when they're using a morgue, they're not just laying a body on the deck of this thing. It's in a body bag or it's in a casket.
Take a lot of Clorox bleach and just put it in there.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was we found the morgue, but it's a 2-drawer with the refrigeration unit on top.
Oh, yeah.
But all the doors and the hardware were missing. So I went down into the basement, the sub-basement, to where they had giant walk-in refrigerators, the dietary section. And, a little light on my head, and 4 hours in the pitch black wrenching these giant hinges and the big doorknobs so we could build the morgue doors.
Now I gotta just ask, because I think ghost adventurers and stuff have been to Pennhurst or anything. Have you ever seen anything or heard anything a little creepy or spooky?
Yeah. I've never experienced any of that, but I've heard many stories of people that have seen things, heard things. We've had customers that had to be escorted off the property because they were absolutely hysterical. Something touched them, something talked to them.
Do you believe in the ghost?
Sure.
But you've never experienced it, but you believe it.
Well, my daughter had an experience there. She's a photographer, and she went to take photos, publicity photos the first year we opened, and she had her 1.5-year-old daughter with her. And as they're leaving, my granddaughter is waving, going, bye, 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 to absolutely nobody. So she was like, anyway.
Now that's scary.
Well, they got back to her house, and she loaded all the pictures onto her computer to get ready to, Photoshop and make them look good. And she's waking up with nightmares. The baby's waking up screaming in the middle of the night. And this went on for about 2 weeks.
See, you're bringing stuff home with you. That's what I worry about.
Yes, and what happened was she took all the pictures off of her computer, put it onto a disk, and erased them, and everything stopped.
Really? Now that's a good campfire story.
Oh yeah. So, and then we've seen a lot of things. We've seen pictures. People have taken pictures. And there's orbs and wisps, like somebody holding their hand.
That's oh man, that could be fun.
One of our employees had been working there almost 3 years. A young kid, about 23 years old. I mean, he's been in this thing working until 2 or 3 in the morning, this and that. It was broad daylight. He threw his tool belt down, he ran out and got in his car and he left. Didn't come back for 3 days. We finally came back and we're like, dude, what happened? And he says, I'm not going to talk about it. I can't talk about it. He goes, I saw something, but I'm just not going to talk about it.
That's crazy. Remind me, I'll visit for 5 minutes and then I'm out of your place. So back to the Hayride, because we don't get an opportunity to talk to a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Agri-entertainment? Agri-tainment. How do you, when you're designing something like that, how do you design? Most when you walk through a haunt, you have that closeness and that kind of claustrophobic feeling with actors being right there and everything else. how do you create a scary environment when you're riding on a tractor? You know what I'm saying? You obviously have an obvious space. You're moving past it. Is it just more like taking a Disney Imagineering kind of look at it, of make it like the Haunted Mansion with things to look at that come at you, or how do you kind of make people afraid in the hayride?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. Number one, you want to start with a very dark area, dark woods, things like that. We're very fortunate. Our hayride's in the middle of a 200-year-old grove of trees. So once you go in there, it's pitch black. I like to design my sets that are up off the ground, and the actors can be at their same level.
And believe it or not, we're in the quiet zone.
So at the same level or higher, above the people in the wagons. We design a lot of sets so that you can actually, really get some good detail and see what's going on, and then have scares coming. So there's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of actors that are coming into play, things like that. So every time we buy anything or design anything, the first question I have is, how's it going to scare my customer? Okay, that's really cool, but where's the scare? So, that's pretty much our approach to the hayrides.
And how far out do you start planning? I mean, you have 2 attractions you're literally planning for. Do you have 2 separate teams and you delegate back and forth, and you're starting like back in May, or how do you just split your time to do all that?
We usually start the design process in January. So we'll get...
For both?
Yep, for both. We'll sit down, we'll start, just brainstorming. What do we want to do here? What do we want to change? How can we make it better? And then typically we go in March to the Trans World Show, and we've already got a good game plan of what we want to buy. So we start making our purchases there. When we come home, now we're ready to start construction.
Well, you said come home. Are these 2 separate teams that are at one location, or do you got a team there and a team over at Pennhurst?
We have a core build team at the Bates Motel. Great design, construction, working with wood, working with steel fabrication, building props, things like that. And we'll do the design work. And the build crew from Bates Motel typically goes to Pennhurst for about 2 or 3 weeks, does the major bulk of the builds, the rough build. And now I have a crew that goes to Pennhurst and will stay there all summer long doing detailed, distressing, painting, building our own costumes, masks, things like that. At the same time, I've got my crew back at Bates Motel that are working on the hayride. If it's a nice day, we're working out in the woods. If it's rainy, we're working inside the haunted house, things like that. So yeah, there's one team that does the design and the main build, and then 2 teams that'll do all the detail work afterwards.
And what do you think of the new Midwest Haunters convention? When was the last time you were here?
I was probably here about 5 or 6 years ago. I did a nice job back then. I'm really tickled to see that Jen Braverman has taken over this show, because it's only going to get better. She's got such a great way of building these shows up and marketing them and getting in good vendors and things like that. Good vendors are going to attract more customers, more buying customers. So I can't see this as going anywhere but up.
Cool. Well, Randy is definitely been. We've been trying to get you for the past couple of years. It's great to be able to finally sit down and talk with you. I hope we can see you at Trans World next year, and hopefully see what happened in October, and talk to you some more about what's going on. We always love picking your brain and kind of helping other haunters that may be wanting to branch out into different areas. You seem to be kind of like the MacGyver of, I do it all. I got a hayride, I got a regular haunt. So it's definitely great being able to sit down with you.
Well, the key to success is you got to have people. You got to have a good crew. You can't go out and do this by yourself. So having a fantastic crew and really good carpenters and metal workers and guys that are making our own masks and molds and makeup and things like that. So it's a complete package. And me by myself, it wouldn't fly. You got to have the right kind of people around you. So.
Well, hopefully maybe we can make it out to your place sometime and get footage of you guys all working and be able to see the haunted in action and everything. Get behind the scenes tour. So if you'd be willing, put you on the spot right now. Just say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes. All right, you heard it. All right, well, everybody stay tuned. We have more coming to you from Midwest Haunters Convention 14? Wow, time flies. 2014. More from the show floor. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to Midwest Haunters Convention here on HauntersDigest. We are honored by the I can't call it Scare Queen because I was like Scream Queen, but Fright Queen?
I like sociologist, or I think sometimes they call me scare specialist, but I think sociologist generally is sums it up pretty well.
I like scare scientist, scareologist. Yeah, I think that works. But she's scareologist for the Scare House, Pittsburgh's scariest haunted attraction. It's I haven't had a chance to get there yet. I've tried for 2 years in a row, but I am going to make it out. Probably this year I'm going to drive out because I want to see all the work you guys do. But tell us exactly, what do you do at the Scare House? What does a scareologist do?
I look at a lot of data. So we have a lot of different ways that we survey our customers online, on site, through social media, and I'm reading that constantly, seeing what scares them, seeing what they like, what they don't like, finding what their darkest secrets are, and trying to make really great scares out of them. So I do that a lot, yeah.
So do you just search the social networks, or do you do like questionnaires as people leave, or how do you really research that?
So we do on-site data collection while we're open. We're surveying people as they leave, and sometimes even before they go in too. So we do a pre and post experience to see if the haunt met their expectations. And if not, then we can make changes immediately. So I'll collect data from Friday to Saturday, analyze on Sunday, make changes during the week, and then it's a better show by the next weekend. And then we also do the post-season surveys. We send those out online, and then I do some kind of targeted follow-ups with customers, and then we're also probably going to do focus groups this year too, pull people in, do man on the street kind of interviews to see what the expectations of a haunted house are for the typical Pittsburgher.
So now that you say you've gathered all that material and all that data, and you've been able to analyze it and formulate what people are really terrified, how do you go about implementing that into the design? I mean, do you sit down with Scott and them and just say, here's what I got, and then it's their responsibility, or explain that? That
actually is pretty much how it works. I kind of break down the science of what people find scary, and then say, okay, make it, do this, make sure this is the end goal, this is what we want the customer to feel. You can figure out how to make that happen. I love design, I love art, I love everything that goes into the construction of a haunt, but it's not my strong point. So I leave that to the artists.
Yeah, that's me. It's like, leave it to the guys that could do it way better than I can. Right. On my worst day or best day or any day, they're going to kick my butt in that department.
Yeah, I can't do makeup, I can't do, costuming or anything like that, but I can see in my head what,
You get in, but you can get in a person's head.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
And that's just as scary.
Yeah, yes.
Well, what kinds of things have you found that people typically, not just Pittsburgh, but in North America, do you look at what horror movies are going on at the time, or is it just that's Hollywood's idea of what's going on because 2 years ago some Hollywood director thought, hey, vampires would be great? Yeah. How much does modern media influence what you decide is what people are truly afraid of?
Yeah, I think that it's really a circular relationship. The people kind of set the trend, media picks up on it and, makes it even bigger, and then the people really go with it for a while, but then eventually it starts evolving and changing. You can really see patterns of what people find scary change over time.
But do you think you could get to it quicker? I mean, with you can do that.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, movies take a year or more to produce, so I mean, I would imagine you would be able to find what's quicker on being able to scare.
Yeah, I try to. I try just by talking to people, anticipate what the next big thing is going to be, and hopefully hit it before everybody else.
So whose idea was it to take Christmas and go, let's take the one special time of the year where we're all supposed to treat each other better and nicer, and let's take Creepo's Christmas and just totally make it so you will fear Santa coming down the... Was that your idea?
No, that was Scott. Scott Simmons was...
So you're blaming him?
Yes, for killing Santa, yes. Scott Simmons kills all children's dreams. No, I'm joking.
That's an exclusive right here on Haunter's Digest. Scott kills children's dreams.
No, but he was shopping during the Halloween season, and he noticed that there was all this Christmas stuff out. And
that's Transworld about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and it was September, and the CVS, the Walgreens, Target already had wreaths, already had the lights and everything, and he was like, this is awful. Christmas is kind of intruding on Halloween's territory, and that is.
So this is his way of saying, let's get back at him.
Yeah, that was Scott's kind of big. To the Christmas invasion of Halloween, at least commercially.
I hate to see what he does to Hallmark during Valentine's.
Right. Yeah.
So you recently went overseas to Japan. What did and it was a study of fear over there.
Yeah, I'm writing a book with Public Affairs, and it's on how and why people engage with and enjoy thrilling and scary material. So part of that book project has been traveling to different countries to see how other cultures, engage with scary and thrilling material. So I went to Japan, and while I was there, I went to, probably like 8 haunts. They actually do have a lot of haunts there.
Which is really surprising to me because, sorry, I've lost my voice. This recording was the day after the ball, and everybody was partying all night. And my voice is pretty much shot, but before I got into the haunt industry, I was actually in the video game industry, and we were working on a couple of zombie type game titles, and we found that there really is a huge distinction on how we consider zombies, in North American and European markets, and when you go over to Asia Pacific markets, there's a whole different reverence for the dead and a respect for them, and they don't expect a lot of zombie things to really do well overseas. It's kind of like they don't like zombies, but they like the ghost of tormented ancestors and treat them with respect to try to get them. So that's why I'm really fascinated by the idea of your book and seeing what that difference is.
Yeah, there is a difference in preference in kind of what the scary monster looks like and does, and it was really interesting to see all of the differences in how the haunts are built and what kind of theming they use, and then also the customer reactions and how they kind of engage with the material. It was very cool. I'm not going to give away any spoilers though. You'll have to buy the book.
Well, I saw one of the trailers for one of the haunts I think you went through, and it was like the well where the girl's walking down the hallway just crawling. It seems like they're creeped out by crawling things.
Yeah, they are creeped out by the crawling, and I think creepy is a good description of a lot of their content. Very kind of, the Japanese horror genre has a very distinctive kind of feel to it.
And as far as the design of a haunt compared to a North American and Asian Pacific haunt, how is there really any major differences on layouts or how they try to flow people through it?
There are some differences depending on the style of haunt. A lot of the haunts are very similar to the American style because they've adopted, American haunt kind of floor plans and business plans, but some did have some interesting kind of twists and differences that were, I think, very inspiring for me that I'll share with the Scare House and hopefully start implementing some of it.
Well, what's kind of been the reaction from the youth and the culture from it?
Oh, in Japan, they like a lot of. Well, I mean, the people who are going, they want that material, so yeah, they really like it. Yeah.
I'm just amazed by it because I remember sitting in several meetings with publishers, and you start, you're working on one game for North America, and then you start talking about possibilities of it being, tweaked over for your Asian Pacific markets, and it's kind of like, okay, you can't do this because they'll just consider it disrespectful and everything else.
Right.
So for you to be able to sit there and say, oh, they like, the idea and they don't find it offensive to the ancestors.
Well, I think it's going to depend on what characters you're using. You do have to be sensitive to whatever kind of cultural connotations something is going to have. And
well, I mean, like we have the traditional, like the urban legend, the girl walking down the street on her way to prom, she got hit, and now she, is in a white bloody dress walking up and down the road. I don't think, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that kind of thing would translate in Japan or in Asian culture, because it would be a distressed spirit. They would be more afraid of that as disrespectful than just being afraid of it.
Yeah. No, I think that could
I'm giving away your book, aren't I?
Yeah.
My bad. Well, still buy it. I mean, it's a great. I mean, it's wonderful looking at the differences of the cultures and everything else. So I'll stop ruining the ending of your book. When's the book gonna be out?
Next fall.
Next fall.
2015, yeah.
And you're not with that publisher that Amazon's trying to screw over.
No, I'm not. No.
So when you get the book out, you gotta send us a link so we can push it up and get it out there.
Yeah, I will, definitely. And you can follow me on Twitter, Margie Kerr. I'm writing about all of my traveling on margiekerr.com. And you can see where I've gone. I have a map on there. So, yeah, it's a...
Like, where in the world is Margie?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So, never mind. Thank you for coming out and doing the interview with us. I know we set this up and we're trying to get you in there. I was really fascinated by this subject and want to talk to you about it.
Great.
I hope we can follow up with you some more and talk more. And anytime you want to send us something on Haunter's Digest about scaring, we're always welcome to it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Stay tuned. We're going to have more interviews coming from Midwest Haunters Convention, the new Midwest Haunters Convention, here on Haunter's Digest. Keep it tuned in. Hey everybody, Charles Terry here from Midwest Haunters Convention, continuing coverage on HauntersDigest.com. I am sitting here with the king, the legend, the one and the only, Scott Simmons from the Scare House.
Correct. Yes.
So he was gracious enough.
Right.
We've been working for a long time trying to get him onto the show to talk about the Scare House. We're hoping to make it out to you in October.
That'd be great. That would be fantastic.
And we want to do a walkthrough on Haunt Tours to kind of give everybody, because we've seen the insanity. I was talking with Margie.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call her Margie. I don't know why, but Margie.
You were on the bus last night, weren't you? Were you on the zombie bus?
I was on the zombie bus.
Yes. Hey, what happens on the bus kind of goes everywhere, but it's totally worth it.
This ain't Vegas,
No, it's not, because Vegas has rules.
and this definitely does
It
not.
does not. No.
But we wanted to get out to you guys because you guys have kind of become the staple of what to do everything right when it comes to presenting your haunted attraction.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I love new media so much. I love social media. I love YouTube, obviously. YouTube.com/The Scarehouse. Whoa, what? But it's really fun for us to be.
Oh, is this where we're plugging your stuff now?
Oh no! If I'm talking, I'm plugging.
That's right. Okay. Okay. Go. All right. Go ahead. I'll just sit here. Let me know when you're done.
Oh, you would not want that. But no, I really enjoy, Scarehouse. We still produce, we produce everything ourselves. We do obviously do the attraction, create all the content, work with outside artists. I don't want to make it sound like it's all us, but being able to create the content, whether it's social media, like taking photos, just the fun things when I'm here, but doing the YouTube videos and doing things like that, being able to generate content year-round is really fun and really exciting, not only to be able to extend the brand, but also just for us, we're so creative, why only get that out in October? To be able to
but
do short films and things is really fun.
But the thing about your attraction that really amazes me is a lot of haunts do their own promo videos and everything, and you can tell sometimes it's a lot of whatever stock thing in Adobe Photos and Adobe Premiere or FX. What I love about your guys' branding and your content creation is you have a cinematography or a cinematographic kind of feel to it.
Oh yeah, very cinematic. I mean, I'm a huge movie nerd, so
you're like the Quentin Tarantino of the haunt industry.
Okay, I'll take it. But the the haunt's always been very cinematic because I'm such a huge movie nerd, and now with technology, it's really great for us for two reasons. When we started doing, we've always done our own videos, but we have been shooting in HD since 2007. And we've had a fairly consistent look. So the footage that we shot in 2008 can sometimes be intercut. And now that you can shoot HD stuff on your phone, on little flashlight cameras, on all these things, I have so much content. I have like years now of various footage. And because I've always been involved in maintaining a look and maintaining an aesthetic, it's great to be able to intercut and make references back and forth and just be highly cinematic and figure out like.
So you're not equipment agnostic. You're not like saying we have to have a can of 5D, 7D with 35. We have to have a Black Magic, 4K.
No. In fact, a common misconception about me is like, oh, when you shoot, like I barely touch the camera. I am a big fan of. On every level of Scarehouse, I'm a big fan of find the most talented people you can and then stay out of their way. And there are people who know how the cameras work. They know how to make the knobs do the things they do. I'm like, all right, you do that. I'll do, people who do I do some of the editing, some of the videos I've done, some of the other videos another guy does, mixing and matching depending on what the skill level is. But like the video we put up fairly recently, which is our first sort of behind the scenes preview of what we're doing this year, that video is hilarious. If you really watch it, there are things shot with the 5D, big fan of the 5D. There are things shot with the 5D and lights and this really big elaborate setup. And then there are shots in there that I literally, like, we were in mid-construction. I'm like, well, that's visual. Let me take my phone out and shoot that. And
Apple needs to call you to put you in an Apple commercial.
But I mean, you can really, if you kind of have that same eye and you're thinking about this, you can really intercut this stuff.
It's lighting.
Yeah, it's lighting, and it's also just finding the interesting shot. I mean, it's funny. They always say with photography, they say, "Wow, that's a great shot." That must be a great camera. It's like it's actually just the tool. It's the guy who points through. And I mean, there are things on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Scarehouse.
There we go with the more plugs.
I don't know what this means. This means traffic light. That's a whole inside joke. Anyway, hi, how are you?
We're good.
The coffee's very strong in Midwest. But
I have passed down. You're like bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, well, this is what it takes.
Welcome to MHC.
This is what it takes. People are always like, what's it? It's the secret to being in the haunted house business there are two secrets to being successful in any kind of creative business. And it's number one, a willingness to go through a door that is open. And then number two, honestly, is stamina, is just first one in, last one out. To quote Will Smith, it's just go, go, go. You don't get to stop, you don't get to relax, but you shouldn't want to stop or relax if you're having fun, if you're doing this. And that's, again, there's always a way to make it work. And that's where, like you're talking about equipment, some of the stuff we've done on Facebook and videos, like I said, it's just, I'm shooting it with a phone, I'm shooting it with different things. And when I've given seminars on video production, I've told people, you don't need all the high-end stuff. In fact, don't try to make it look like some big high-end cinematic thing if you can't afford it. If you can only afford a certain amount of low rent stuff, then use that to your advantage. You know, there's a reason Blair Witch Project made all that money, and the Paranormal Activity movies, which I know some people hate, I really love them. I'm like, they found some really interesting things to do.
It's a unique look.
It's a unique look. You know, find your brand, find your niche, and go with it.
Now, the one thing that I love about you guys, I mean, I'm a fanboy when it comes to your guys' work. And I mean, there's Star Wars fanboys. I'm a Simmons fanboy. So when you guys, we were talking earlier, when you guys came up with the Christmas idea.
Oh, so much fun.
And she said that was your FU to Christmas because it was like intruding on other holidays.
And it wasn't really even so much an FU to Christmas as much as it was an FU to the commercialism and marketing and corporate thing of Christmas that...
This is why you're Tarantino to me.
Yeah, I'll take that. You know, the fact that there's a certain amount of frustration of Christmas coming in September now that I can buy...
Or July, yeah. Christmas in July.
Yeah, I mean that... I'm able to buy props for my Christmas haunt at the same time I'm buying Halloween props is ridiculous. But I mean, you know, they're always, I can go to Target a week before opening because I need a couple extra Christmas lights. I'm like, well, there they are. They're right on the shelf next to the Halloween stuff. So it's more commenting on that than actually anti-Christmas. And I was really, this will be our third year for doing it, and it's been remarkable. There really hasn't been any controversy about it. I mean, we killed Santa Claus, and I thought, boy, are we going to get in trouble? Nope. People saw it, they appreciated it for what it was, so, you know, it was having some fun with it.
Santa needed to go.
Santa needed to go, yeah, exactly.
But the one thing I love about your haunt is a lot of, I see haunts that try to come up with their own custom ideas. And some of them work, some of them, you know, they need to go back to the drawing board. Some haunts, they pull a lot from Hollywood and with the Freddy's and Jasons. Right. What I love about you guys is it's kind of like you said, you can tell you're a cinema fan, cinema geek, cinema nerd, but it's like you come up with something that I could totally be seen turned into an entire movie on its own.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've played around with that a little bit. I know a lot of people always say, "Oh, you want to do a video?"
Repo could have his own show.
Repo could have his own show. I just know that being a realist, I know like what the market would be if we were to do a 2-hour movie, say. And, you know, we have a certain amount of resources there, but it's a matter of like, well, it would have to make sense. And, you know, how does the money get back? I mean, at the end, you know, as much as I love, that's part of why I like doing some of these cinematic things on YouTube in short form, because you can spend a very small amount of money and you're like, well, maybe we'll make the money back, maybe we won't. But it doesn't feel like, you know, once you make that commitment to doing a 2-hour movie, like, well, that's got to be at a whole different level. But we do approach all of these things like they're their own sort of characters and franchisable, and then but also knowing when it's time to start turning them over. Like we've had iconic characters that have been a big part of Scarehouse history. I'm a big, huge fan of the theme park Halloween events, Universal in particular, and we watch what they do and we go, yeah, you know, it's actually sometimes you want to take those iconic characters away. You know, I mean, Delirium 3D was really popular. And it was just starting, you know, so we were getting some of the feedback from the audience, and they were going, and it was like, wow, we love it every year. We love it. And there was that one year like, yeah, it was pretty good. We like it. I'm like, all right, that means it's starting to wane a little bit. Like, take it away before they start getting like, oh, that again. And, you know, and sometimes it's just creatively you go, as long as we can think of new interesting things to do with characters or concepts, we'll do it. But if we start feeling like, I don't know that we want to spend another year coming up with ideas for or this or that, that's when we go like, well, on an artistic level, if we're going to start feeling like we're a little bit slogging through, that's going to be conveyed to the audience. So we're always, you know, at the end of the day, you have to do what you love and what you find creative and exciting, and then the audience will pick up on it.
Well, let me ask you a question. Say you had to start from scratch all over again, or a haunter that's looking to start in this industry. What would you say are the 3 basic things when it comes to finding a location, finding a theme, and finding a crew? Yeah. I know those are huge topics.
Right. No, they're really, I don't know if I could say, well, I mean, on the 3, on the soundbite level, it would definitely be, you know, promotion, point of view, and, you know, obviously production is an alliteration thing that happens with P, so we got to stick with that. But I think a couple things that I've said to people over the years is it's easy to go to the haunt shows or watch the TV shows and see these very elaborate haunted houses. You know, Scarehouse has been around for a while. We've been in the same building for a while. We've been able to put, you know, grow and and stuff and stuff and stuff. If you're a first-year haunt, unless you have, even if you have a tremendous amount of money, it's very hard to make that level of financial commitment and get your money back. Like,
What do you think a good size for a first level haunt should be?
I guess it all depends. I think that's my thing that I've seen, like people who are just getting started and they get into a space that's gigantic, and like you can't fill it. You cannot fill it. You know, I've known so many.
Unless you got $3 million in the bank.
Exactly, and even then, it's like it's still going to take time to find the audience. I think when you're looking for a location, you want to look for a place that, this is very challenging, but look for a place that has the potential to expand, but isn't forcing you at the very moment you're open to be like, oh, I got to be massive, I got to be huge. Like, if your business plan means that, like, wow, it's got to be one of the most successful haunts ever just to break even, don't do it. And a big thing I would say, and this gets into point of view, is don't be so quick to be like, oh, I want to be like Scarehouse, I want to be like Netherworld, or some of these big, massive shows you see. Be realistic, like, here's my budget, what's my point of view, what can I do at an attraction that not only excites me as the designer team, but is something that is different and unique that hasn't been seen, because haunted house business has been around for like 25 years now. The audience wants to see new things. I've used this a couple times, the film series VHS, which are these very ultra low budget short films. It's got found footage anthology. They continue to do some of them.
So Tarantino.
Some of them work some of the shorts work really well, some a little bit iffy, but all of them are very interesting in aliens attacking summer cabin, or like interesting but the one scene is very creepy, and it's just like an old suburban house, and there's a TV on, and there's the static playing, and there's these weird tapes in the corner, and I keep thinking, when I saw that, I thought, those are the kind of attractions I would get really excited about. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm number one always going to love Halloween and the celebration of Halloween in that spirit, but if I was just starting out and I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't have a lot of these resources, because I mean, I love my team, but it's taken us many, many years to build up to this awareness of what we could do. Like, so you have to start small, and if you're in a market and you're dealing with like these big mega shows, don't try to compete. Like, realize, if you're in like one of these big markets, and you're like, all right, I can't compete with that haunt that's doing tens of thousands of people. What can I do that's small and interesting and intimate, maybe, that will allow me to break even and over-deliver and build up that fan base and just bit by bit by bit grow. And I think that's really the secret. Not try. It's a marathon. It's stamina. It's going, all right, start. Of course, everybody their first year thinks, I'm going to open this show and it's going to be massive and I'm going to be on the TV shows. Like, it doesn't happen. It's got to grow, but the growth is part of what makes it so exciting.
Well, I think that. Hey, Tater.
Sorry, I thought this was a drive-through window.
No, that's around the corner. He was looking for a burger and fry.
Oh, got it.
It's Tater, man.
It's Tater, yes.
He's the only guy I know that.
Also on the bus.
He would. Don't get me started on him.
On Sunday, I'm going to bring like something really loud, like one of those air guns or something I can travel with, and just behind all y'all, just be bam. I'm saying this as if I've never done anything terrible at a convention ever.
Yeah, no. Scott's a good boy. He went to bed early
last night. Yeah, Friday, no.
But let me ask you. That kind of brings me to my last question. I know we got to get you out of here because you got a lot of things you still got to do. But it kind of brings a good point, like you say. I'm a small attraction. I'm opening up maybe next to the guy who's been there 15 years. He's doing 25,000 people a season. You are literally the king of social media from what we've seen. I mean, you're like the Twitter, Facebook. I mean, you're the king.
Okay.
So what advice would you get a hat?
Okay.
You don't want to know. We're going to send you something now. You put that in my mind. But when you come in, Facebook's changed their algorithms and things. And with this kind of new dilemma and everything, what would be your advice to a haunter that's trying to say, I need to up my social media game, besides saying get a haunt app from HauntApps.com, which is a great sponsor of the show, and also social media of the next generation of directly on mobile phones. Hey, you're going to plug your thing, I'm plugging mine. How would you approach Facebook, Google+, Twitter, to really use it effective marketing?
I wouldn't worry about Google+. I think that's
That's more of a techie, nerdy kind of like.
Pretty much on the way out. I think with social media, if I were to sum it up, I would say you don't have to be everywhere. I've seen so many people try to be on all these different locations. Like, that doesn't always work. The key to it is always going to be content. That's one of the things I love about social media is it really is a meritocracy, and you see some of these giant corporations and, whenever new things come out, Vine or some of these other apps or anything that's content created, they're not necessarily going to be able to get as far as somebody who's just really creative and really pushing it. And I think the two things I would say is if you're going to be using social media, pick a few things that you can do. Don't try to be everywhere. Don't try to be on like 7 different things. Facebook is definitely in a kind of a weird transitional place, but it's still the #1 social media outlet for now. Social media changes, it evolves, but for now, Facebook.
But the problem with Facebook is you may have 5,000, 10,000 followers, and unless you pay per post to promote it, you only get 3% of that. So how do you combat that?
And I think my very zen response to that is don't use Facebook to promote, use Facebook to inform people about who you are. I do very little paid boosting, I do very little advertising, but what I do is I'm generating content on Scarehouse every day, all year round. And it's always stuff that's within our brand. It's always stuff that's within our point of view. At this show, it's not, it's a photo of something that's interesting. We're putting that content out there that I know our audience is going to respond to and that they like and that they're going to share and say, they're not only sharing it because it's interesting, they're sharing it because that's a thing that relates back to Scarehouse. I want you to see this. This is a representative of the Scarehouse thing. That's really what helped. But when you say that, you realize, wow, that sounds like a tremendous amount of work. Like, I can't just throw money at it. There is no secret. The secret to social media is there is no secret. You have to be, again, stamina. You're in there every day. Here's something that's interesting. Here's something that's very viral, but I'm not going to post it because it doesn't feel like Scarehouse. It doesn't have the point of view. It's just getting out there every day and generating things. And I've said this is in seminars.
It's the consistency that really builds your audience.
And an understanding that I hear people say when they run a haunted house, well, where do I find content? How do you find stuff to talk about? Like, what we do is really interesting. We're in the haunted house business.
People buy DVD movies because they want to see behind the scenes. Yeah. Show them building your haunt all year.
Yeah, show them, like, I just bought 5 gallons of fake blood. That's an interesting thing. That's how you build that up. So
or give little teasers about, I think you did that for the Creepo Christmas. Yeah. You did a little teasers, and that's what drove attention.
But again, they were teasers. You look on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/thescarehouse. What's up? You'll see those videos, especially for the last couple of years. We've largely moved away from straight commercials and trailers. Most of our stuff isn't that blatantly salesy. It's more like with Creepo, like last year, we did these cool things with these weird, creepy elves. They're just kind of funny and weird, and you go like, oh, that's interesting, and that conveys what you expect from the experience. But we do very little of the kind of like, come out, see Scarehouse, blah, 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 blah. It's content. That's what's interesting.
I think, I love what you do is you have a little humor, like twist to it, and I think comedy helps sell. Yeah. So that's what really kind of energizes people to come see you versus the other guy who's just saying, we're a slasher, we're going to come and get you.
And that's all, again, the videos feel like the attraction, feels like it's all that branding. Like, if you watch the videos and you like the videos, chances are you'll like the attraction as well. The attractions have the videos, I should say, have a lot of weird humor to it. The attraction has a lot of weird humor to it. It wouldn't work if we were doing these videos that are kind of creepy and kind of funny and kind of weird, and then you went in and it was all blood, hardcore, bleh, and vice versa. If I did these videos that were really like extreme face-ripping blood, gore, nasty, and then you came in and you're like, what? Why is there a clown dressed in a Santa suit? Why is there a giant gingerbread man chasing me? Like, they all kind of match. And that's, again, the key to social media is like, if you like what I'm posting on social media, you're probably going to like Scarehouse. And that's all a sort of simplified version of what has been a much longer conversation. But yeah, it's fun.
Well, Scott, thank you for coming on and talking with us. I know you got to get out of here. This is the Quentin Tarantino, Francis Ford Coppola of the haunt industry.
Yeah, I'll take the Quentin one. I don't know.
Okay, Quentin.